We'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which this project is created, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We'd also like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging.
Settle down and gather round for another tale. In the world of Nua, where time has carved and cultivated a magical utopia of wonder, a small group of adventurers unlock the deep mysteries of the land, its people, and themselves. Welcome to the Down Under Dungeon podcast.
Dear Waganju, thank you again for taking us across the Cinder harbour. I think this is truly your first step toward redemption. Though, I do have to say I wish you were a little less tough on yourself about everything. I suppose, as I grow in power, I feel more responsibility and weight on my shoulders about the decisions I am making. So, I can't really imagine what an ancient elemental being like yourself would feel. I think intention has a lot of meaning in this. You awoke when you heard the sound of a phoenix crying because it sounded like it was in pain. You didn't plan to explode yourself, Mount Sylvanus and the Fey Court portal at the same time. Some things just happen. I know you think you caused a cataclysm that killed everyone and everything, but buddy, look around. Just across the harbour, on the edge of the putrescent woods, one of my magic beans managed to grow into a great willow tree ant. Through some of my druidic magic, I managed to connect it to the mycelium network of the myconids that were escorting us and help permanently establish their colony. Life and growth are still possible. We just have to believe that things can change and will change. Naming the willow Pud the Fourth may not have been the wisest thing I've ever done, a spur-of-the-moment decision out of peer pressure, but hey, it ended up breaking my staff and with it, a symbolic connection to the Order of the Eternal Flame. It reformed into the Staff of the Living Dawn. I don't know what all this represents yet, but I feel myself becoming something else. Still a druid for sure, but of what? I'm not yet certain. I promise the rest of the Wellspringers and I will help you fully redeem yourself in your own eyes. Luckily, I have the volcanic rock to contact you, or in the worst case scenario, look out to the sky and I'll draw a picture of my face. In Fumatown, we quickly found our best way to Caldera City and Belial's Keep, the cable cart that transports all of the city's resources to the top of the volcano. We found a tavern called the Stinky Pit, which really lives up to its name. Hopefully the succubus proprietor Dravna will be able to help us. Or she's working for Belial and we're totally screwed. Either way, we will figure it out. We always do.
Welcome back everyone to the table. We are getting into the nitty-gritty end of our campaign. There's only around 5 episodes left.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, the audience doesn't know that.
No, well, they do now. So today, we will be returning to the Wellspringers the morning after they arrived into the Stinky Pit, deep in the Umbra Isles. We descend into the depths of Fumatown's preeminent drinking and brawling establishment. The hollowed-out mining shaft is lined with rooms, private boxes, and card dens, all looming over a central battle arena at the base of the pit. High above in the tiered stands rests an enormous bar and the domain of Dravna Reverie, the succubus brew domain cleric who has chosen to heal the balms of her comrades in a far more superficial yet nonetheless beneficial role. The fighting of the pits is allowed by the dreaded Gloom Legion, an army of predominantly moon elves and dangerous fighters from across the Isle, as it provides an outlet for the overworked population. Moreover, the Gloom Legion is known to hand-select recruits from the most fearsome of warriors. Whether it be in one of the dingy and very cheap rooms hovelled into the side of the pit, at the bar, card tables, or drinking dens, where do we find the Wellspringers both scoping out the place but also trying to keep a low profile?
Denny is doing what Denny does and is clearing glasses. Just, going around grabbing empties of people. He's like trying to hide behind if you've ever worked in hospo before, you know that feeling of when you've got 30 glasses and you're holding them all and they're stacked up in front of your face. And so that's how Denny is keeping a low profile.
Can Denny hold 30 glasses?
Oh, yeah, absolutely not.
Oh, I am definitely about to make him roll, dude.
Lysandra would be probably scoping out the actual fighting pit, seeing if there's anyone there that she can always use as a distraction to help them later on.
Louis is going to go and scope out the card den, and is then going to potentially try to tune into something to see if there's a way that we can get through here, maybe use the souls of this place that are stuck to work out where to go.
Feng is going to use one of his wild shapes and turn into a tiny little rat and start scoping around the Stinky Pit and see what conversations he can overhear. If there's any useful people that the Wellspringers might be able to rely on, connect with, anyone with some inside info into Caldera City, or even Belial.
You like a rat looking for food. I love that chick. Okay, sounds good. Let's start with... Let's start with Louis.
Okay.
I'm going to need just an insight check for me, Louis, as you walk into the card den.
Absolutely. That is a 13.
The 13. It is pretty chaotic as you enter one of the larger card dens, but you do see an immaculately dressed devil holding court as dealer around a large, opulent velvet table. You see the table is empty, however, and the main reason for you noticing it is the wide berth given by the clientele of the Stinky Pit. Even in the most drunkest of imps, avoid eye contact with the dealer and shoot nervous glances at each other, but the croupier stands there cool as a cucumber. Juggling in his hands a set of pure silver die, and underneath a small placard on the table reads, Hadean Gambit.
Ooh.
It's the fantasy equivalent of a fuckboy name.
Yes.
That would be my stripper name.
Yes, Hadean Gambit.
Hadean Gambit? Fuck yeah. It feels like a very bad idea to approach this table, but they have little to no other option, and fuck it, Louis already dead. Let's go play some cards.
Oh, I forgot that Louis was undead. Give me 2 seconds. As you approach this devil, you see he smiles immaculate. When people whiten their teeth and it's closer to blue than white? Mm-hmm. Very immaculate devil. And he says, Charmed, I am sure. My name is Rigby, Infernal Croupier, and one of the last practitioners of infernal magic in the realm. Coins are all fine, sure, but when you've got nothing left, Rigby will always deal you in. For a price, that is.
Oh, honey, there's always got to be a price when it comes to gambling. How's the game work, may I ask?
You see, he says, the game is Hadean Gambit. The goal is to draw a value up to 19. You may roll a d10, a d6, or a d4 to get as close to that number as possible. If you roll over, the house wins. If you are closer than me, you receive 150 copper pieces, which is equivalent to 50 gold.
Wild, okay.
Felt like there was higher stakes there. I think there's a hidden secret.
Yeah, I wonder. Fine gentlemen like you. Only kind of place I've seen this sort of game is in lovely little Denis plane. Wouldn't happen to know anyone called Miranda, would you?
You see, the devil just starts coughing on nothing and says, Did she send you?
I know of her.
That's not answering my question.
Sure, but a question's a question, and I feel if we're dealing in answers, then if I answer yours, you answer mine. What's a guy like you doing in a place like this?
You see, Rigby puts this immaculately pedicured nail under his collar and tugs at it a little bit and says, well, yes, I may have received my training in Miss Miranda's saloon and card den, but if you are familiar with her scaly presence, she can be somewhat overshadowing, and so where do shadows go but here?
Fair enough, gotta make your way in the spotlight somehow.
Right, and Miss Miranda was always one for coin and trinkets and interdimensional knickknacks. I deal in something more real.
May I ask what that is?
I think you know exactly what this is, Louis. I require no money up front, just a measly little soul wager. You will also appreciate that binding souls in Shadowfell is illegal, and also will likely get me into a lot of trouble, so I just kind of hang out here, with no eyes on me.
You do seem to be quite avoiding the populace.
Yes, and so now please, I beg of you, did Miss Miranda send you to me?
She did not.
You see he visibly, half collapses over the table in relief. While you're digesting what the croupier is telling you, Louis, he squints his eyes a little bit, and he's going to make 2 checks. He's going to make an insight check first of all, and then an arcana check. You see his eyes narrow for a little bit, and he looks you up and down and says, "Well, how about a game? I don't see the likes of the material plane walking in here every now and then, especially one with such a bright soul."
You got good eyes, kiddo.
Here's what I'll offer you, Louis. If you play a game of Hadean Gambit with the croupier, you can make all your checks while you're playing with advantage as he's distracted and trying to beat you. Otherwise, you're free to walk away from the table.
Before I agree, can I see if I could potentially work out where he stores the souls? If I could maybe try to tune to them, get access, get maybe any kind of help from them?
You can do that you can do it with advantage if you are playing with him.
This is scary.
This is bad. I have recently been told I am a cocoon, so I am just a soul. If I lose and I lose the soul, what the fuck happens?
No.
Final 5 episodes, fuck it. Yes, I'll play.
Okay, Louis. I will let you roll 3 checks with advantage, or 3 things you want to know with advantage, and then we'll roll afterwards.
Ooh, okay. Sure thing.
I'm not that mean.
At least I'll get the information before I get sucked into whatever soul vacuum he has.
A soul hoover? Like, you have to, plug it into the wall?
No, he's a devil. He's got a soul Roomba at the very least.
It's thematic. It's on a schedule.
He's not doing it.
Those Roombas that send notifications to your phone, they're stuck at cliffs.
Send help.
Send help.
New soul found.
Yes.
Alright. I would like to make an investigation check to see if I can work out potentially where the souls that he is keeping are stored. It's a natural 1 and a 16 for an 18. Can I please make also a perception check to see if I can work out if there's any kind of insignia, any sort of business cards or anything that he might be loyal to that we could maybe use or have connections with? That is a natural 20 and a natural 1. Oh. So a natural 20.
Very nice.
You've had 2 nat 1s in a row.
I know, terrifying, on different dice.
Thank you for the advantage, Dan.
Yeah. And my last one is going to be an Arcana check to see if he is rigging the game, cheating at all, seeing if there's maybe anything that can give me an advantage in this situation. That is a 16 for a dirty 20.
Louis, as you begin to play and the dice start to be rolled, you very expertly, it's like your periphery is going off and you're trying to analyze things. Over the course of playing, there are 3 things you notice with those checks. First of all, Rigby is wearing a gold onyx signet ring on his right pinky finger, and you start to hear whispers coming from that. The second thing you see is upon his lapel is a pin with 2 golden grains, 2, what are they called? 2 sheaths of wheat crossing each other. And as you start to play the game, you also notice that the table in which you're playing on is very dripped in ancient magic that you probably is familiar to you, but it's not like a language or anything you could read or understand, and it seems like the act of playing at this table is in of itself a binding contract.
So it would be impossible to cheat, I'm guessing.
Correct.
Okay.
But if you were to cheat, would that not void the contract?
Oh.
Devils are evil, but they are lawful evil.
Litigious as hell.
So let's play the game, Louis.
Okay. Before I ask a shitty little question, it's a shitty little
Above the table, you could ask a shitty little question.
Can I potentially try to use the soul tuning to get the ghost to work with me on this? Can they do anything to change anything on the table? Is that worth approaching, or do you want me to just roll straight?
No.
Okay.
This is deep magic.
All right.
This is like going against the dice of many things. If you want to do that, do that. But
Yeah.
you've seen the weave in this campaign, and she is a cruel mistress.
She is.
So this is how this is going to work. You have to try and get 219. You can roll any of a d6, a d4, or a d10 as many times as you like to get to that 19. The strategy is, do you roll the big dice at the start or save it for the end and then go, So it is very testy. You could roll 2 d10 and hope for the best, or you can roll them one at a time if you want to.
Louis is going to start with a d10. It's a 4. I'm going to do another d10. 7. I'm going to go for another d10. 13. Moving to a d6. And it's 16.
You could roll the d4, but then if you roll a 4, what happens?
I go over. I'm going to tap out at 16 for this round.
You see Rigby smiles and he begins rolling his die. D10. 6, rolling again. 15.
Oh, the motherfucker. Fuck.
He's going to roll a d4. He rolls a 4 on the d4 for a perfect 19, and we will cut away from the card deck. Denis, my precious little boy!
Guess where all these glasses are going?
Up your ass.
Oh no, they're going onto the table.
Oh. The mines, refineries, and boil pits never cease in Fuma Town, and a 24-hour schedule means there are constantly workers getting off long shifts from the middle of the day till the wee hours of the morning. Dravna and her devoted staff, apparently now including Denis, work tirelessly to brew ale and mead to keep them satisfied in exchange for a cut of their measly salaries. You see that imps here usually trade in these small tin coins. Scores of ghouls, phantoms, imps, devils, bugbears, and horned demons flock to Dravna's enormous bar, slamming down coin and carrying away enormous frothing pints and clinking bottles into various nooks and crannies to drink away their sorrows, grumble, jeer, and generally be little goblins in the metaphorical sense.
That's our word. Thank you very much.
Denis, as you are again offering your free labour, give me either an investigation, perception, or insight check.
Denis is going to make an investigation check. That's a 17.
You notice a lot of people, but the one thing that you cannot take your eyes off is Dravna Reverie herself. The succubus stands at a demure 6'3", framed by enormous, deep blue, leathery wings that flow down to her ankles. Her face, eternally youthful, is intricately tattooed, perhaps to distract from the 2 tiny horn stubs on her immaculate forehead. Long rivulets of black curls cascade down her frame. She's dressed in a humble cleric's tunic with a medallion of a silver sickle with 2 sheaths of wheat intercrossed. She beams a warm smile behind which rests 2 periwinkle blue eyes. Her deft hands pull ale and her powerful tail grasps bottles of mead and sweeps coins from the bar. Denis, how are you approaching Dravna? I mean, you are definitely working. Are you working in a way in which you're trying to be noticed that you're doing a good thing, or you are working in order to keep a low profile so people will skip you?
I think Denis is trying to keep a low profile. He's trying to just sort of be on the periphery of conversations and try and hear what clientele are saying, but at the same time he's working for free, and I'm sure that this tavern owner probably notices that.
Of course. I think, first of all, can I have a sleight of hand check to see not only how many glasses you can carry, but whether or not you can carry them safely to the bar?
Sure thing. That's a 25.
Denis, you approach the bar and all Dravna sees is a pile of glasses, and you just huck them onto the wood. Yeah, you, Denis, crash down all of these beer steins and empty bottles, and you see Dravna stands back, crosses her arms over her chest and says, "Aren't you just the most helpful little devil?"
Denis blushes a little and says, I live to work.
With you saying live to work, you see Dravna says, "And that you will. I need you to make a wisdom saving throw for me as you try to reduce the charms of this succubus."
It's a 6.
The DC is 15.
So that's a...
Fail.
Oh, okay.
You are now charmed by this succubus.
I have advantage on the charmed condition.
Roll it again.
Yes, I will. That's a 7. So...
Denis, can you read the charm condition for us?
Certainly. While you have the charmed condition, you experience the following effects. You can't harm the charmer, and the charmer has advantage on any ability check to interact with you socially.
Wonderful. She's going to make a persuasion check for you, Denis. With a 22, she asks you, Denis, "And where are you hailed from? I don't see many little green folk from around here. You're so cute. Look at your ears."
Denis, with the Pokemon spirally eyes, looks at Dravna with a little bit of drool coming out of his mouth and just says, I hail from BNDOM. It is in Nua, the material plane, and I have traveled far and wide to come here and work for you, madame.
You see, Dravna has the expression of like that chick in high school who gets so impressed by by the footy boys on the oval, just by like
That was me. I was that chicken.
She's almost like she's swooning for you, Denny, in this moment, and she says, "No, well, you do look quite strong and intimidating, but you telling me you came here all by yourself, little guy?"
No, I have many friends around the tavern. There's one over there, there's one over there. And starts pointing at people.
This has started so well. Louis about to die, Denny's given us up.
Wonderful. As you point out all the Wellspringers, you point at Feng, who's just a rat scurrying on the stage.
How does Denny know what I...
Oh, and that little whack, that is also one of my friends.
You're so lucky I can't talk yet as an animal.
Dravna smiles intently and looks nonplussed at everything you say, Denny, and says, "Oh, well, that's lovely. I would like to meet your friends. Tell them to come to the bar and I'll pour them a drink. I have a proposition for you all."
Excellent. Put, come here. And he's gonna get put over like, this is the most important one. I'll go grab the other side characters.
And
this guy.
And Denny, as you waddle off and Pud's standing there scratching himself, Dravna just kind of has a quizzical look on her face and then returns to her other patrons, leaving Pud standing there, and very much like the croupier, people are giving Pud a wide berth. Down below the bar, we have Lysandra and we have Feng. Now, while Lysandra's looking at the fighting pits, I think Feng is just kind of like down amongst the people.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll start with you, Lysandra. Down in the lowest part of the establishment, the name definitely rings true of the Stinky Pit. With the constant barrage of congealed ale, sweat, muck, and blood, it forms a half-foot deep slush in the bottom of the fighting arena.
That's foul. You need to change that description right now.
Up on one of the walls, a deep mahogany board is emblazoned with infernal script, dancing and bubbling and depicting the current listings of the fighters.
And is it in Infernal?
It is.
Well, then I can't read it. just wanted to check that.
That's so funny.
But I do understand Abyssal.
Oh.
Would I be able to understand it then?
Well, I've established that Shadowfell has devils and fiends and all manner of undead, so of course Abyssal would be here as well. You won't be able to read it, but I'm going to need a high enough investigation check to try and make sense of it, Lysandra.
Okie dokie. That's a 3.
A 3.
Yep.
Feng. You are also in this space, so I just want to get this all done at the same time. Feng, you are taking the ambient temperature of the room and like gossiping and conversations going on, so I'm going to need an insight check from you.
Sure.
What specifically are you listening for?
Like I said, any mention of Caldera City, any mention of Belial, the Gloom Legion, and then finally, if anyone mentions the gondolas, the cable car, and if there's, any schedule or shipments about to go.
Because you're using a wild shape, roll with advantage.
That's a 10.
Lysandra, it takes you more than you would like to admit amount of time to decipher this board, but you deduce after a while that this is essentially a single elimination bracket. It's fielded down from about 50 participants. So depending on the placement, the top performers and most ferocious victors seem to be picked for some kind of final elimination bracket. You don't really know the contours of the fight or how it works, but you know it is slated to occur at midnight tonight.
Fantastic.
How far away is midnight?
Probably at this point 6 to 8 hours away.
Okay.
Feng, you are pretty much only able to talk about gossip, and given that the games are tonight, that is what everyone is talking about and who will be victorious. There are 3 names on people's lists. The first one is Ivy Smolders, a bright red imp with one arm significantly larger, banded in muscle and lifting the rest of her tiny form precariously off the ground.
That does sound like a drag queen name.
You hear from many of the patrons that apparently Ivy personally strangled 3 people in the lists with her immense strength, only to be undone by the magics of another contender. They all laughed and guffawed as once Ivy was defeated, she smashed a hole through the side of the arena in her fury, and you turn and look and you see there is like a ply boarded up part in the arena. The other one is Matthew, the bugbear wizard, a hulking 7-foot bugbear bedecked in his foot-long wiry black fur. He wears nothing but a tattered, faded wizard's hat, along with a tattered rope of wooden slats with crude spells carved into them.
Okay, I changed my mind. Smash. I want him.
Matthew is perceived by the crowds to be a real brute, believing the heightened study of arcane arts the best mechanism to secure his liberation from his muscle-banded body. He can cast spells, just don't ask what his spell save is or it might cause great offense.
I love the idea that mechanics can have in-world shame.
The third name you two pick up, and you see that this man, Lysandra, is number 1 in the ranks, is Clancy Quivers, an awakened moon elf who claims used to be one of the old summer Eladrin who first came to Shadowfell. Incredibly decrepit and senile, the old man continues the lists for the free board, mead, and constant supply of ears to hear his fantastical tales. You see a lot of people say Clancy's Quivers with a grain of salt, Feng, but do not take his age and undeadness for weakness. He is still incredibly deadly with a bow somehow, and has taken many a champion's eye for their insolence. That's a pretty low check, Lysandra, but one thing you do notice above the board, nestled behind the rows of bleachers, is a small, elegant, private box, draped in black velvet and veiled in sheer curtains. The balustrade is bedecked in the familiar coat of arms of the Gloom Legion, a glaive bisecting a sunburst.
Lysandra, now understanding who some of these competitors are, is going to look around for Feng.
Yeah, how do you attract Feng when he's in his wild shape? Do you guys have like some like, or does Feng have like a telltale on his wild shape so they could like distinguish Feng from any other rat?
It's a rat on fire.
I mean, to be fair, I have described all of the animals that I've wild shaped into as having like red, orange tinged fur. So I mean, look, if you see a red rat running around, by all means, that's probably Feng.
A ginger rat.
Yes.
There is a ginger at this table, excuse you.
Lysandra is going to look around, see if there's no one in here, pull out some cheese from her rations, and just start breaking it and like throwing it around, and then going around and lighting all of them individually, trying to smoke out this ginger rat.
As a rat, I have advantage on smell checks. Can I please try to smell the cheese?
Oh, yes, you may roll to smell the cheese.
That's a 17.
Okay, yes, you smell it. You reconvene just as you see Denny waddling over. He like bumps into a couple of tables on his way. You guys thought Denny had a higher constitution for alcohol, given the fact he usually like sips on his solvents and stuff.
Hello, everybody. It is me, Denis. I have met a friend. Come, let's introduce ourselves.
Feng will just shake his head at Denny and go, "Hey, why didn't you invite us to the party? Where did you start drinking without us?"
Hello, it's me, Denis. I have met a friend. Come and meet me.
Lysandra is just going to look at him confused and smack him across the face.
As Denny starts to say it again.
Denny, you are stripped from your stupor, but you still feel the compellment of the order from Dravna.
Are you okay, Danny?
I think so. Where am I? Where did we come from? I have a real desire to go talk to that hot devil over there.
Oh, okay, Danny, but do you know where Louie is? We're down here. We don't have eyes on her. Where is she?
Yeah, she went to do a gambling with the devil, I believe.
Oh, that sounds like my call. I'm ready.
Dravna knows everything about this place. She's the brood domain cleric. I'm sure that any mysteries that they want to uncover, Dravna will be able to help us. Oui?
Okay, if you say so.
Let's go!
You move all over to Dravna's bar, and you see she smiles at you and says, 1, 2, 3. There's one missing, Denny. You disappoint me, Denny.
I disappoint many people. But we were actually wondering if you could help us with that. You see, we seem to have, as you pointed out, lost one of our companions. Could you perhaps help us find a short little elderly woman?
You see Dravna's gonna roll an insight check. Nat 20. You see Dravna immediately winces and starts to rub her temples where her horn stubs are and says, Rigby. And you see, it's almost like she starts grasping out into the air for something, and her fingers wrap around what appears to be like almost like a golden chain that she yanks out of nowhere, and you see appearing out of nothingness this infernal croupier going bound and gagged by Dravna herself, and she says, I said imps and lesser beings only. You think they're people from the material plane? You trying to pull a side one on me, Rigby? And you see Rigby, who's actively being choking, is just like
It sounds like me.
You see Dravna dispels the magic that summoned Rigby, and he starts to breathe. And she immediately lifts him up by the ankles and starts shaking him violently. You see the rest of the patrons all around seem to this is completely nonplussed on what's happening. You see Rigby, after a while, submits and says, fine. Rubs his ring, and Louis, you are pushed out onto the bar. There's almost like ectoplasm all around of her. All you remember was the 4 on Rigby's D4, a searing white light, and now you're here.
Now that I'm back conscious, and considering that I was just in some weird mixing plum pudding of souls and miasma, is there anything in there that I would have picked up and seen, and or seen how souls maybe work in here, and or how traps maybe work?
You can either make me a pure wisdom check or an arcana check.
Okay. I'm going to make an arcana check. It's a 16 plus 4 for a dirty 20.
With a dirty 20, it seems that this is definitely the artifact was containing you. You get the idea that you are a soul weaver. You could have easily escaped from this ring if you wanted to, had you not signed a contract and bound yourself to it. Mm-hmm. So all of these souls that you maybe have heard whilst you were in there are all pitiful people without the power to fight off Rigby's grasp. I will also say, Rigby clearly isn't making Dravna any money, and also the notion of devil's deals really goes against this kind of Dravna clerical thing that she's apparently going on. There must be some reason she's harboring this devil, because he's not making her any money. You hear, as Louis begins to clear the ectoplasm from her nostrils and eyes, Dravna turns to the rest of you and says, Soul bargains, I'm so sorry. It binds the soul of another to you. When you die, your essence is converted to your owner. But your hollow spirit is cast to the shadows to float around listlessly without purpose for eternity. And that's why soul bargains are technically outlawed by the Shadow Lord. He doesn't need any contenders. And you remember back, Louis, to all those souls you initially tried to tune, these wretched, beyond any type of humanity or any type of conversation capacity. These are just wailing souls. And now you realize these must have been the people who were soul bonded in life. Dravna pulls you all in the Wellspringers, and you see, using meta magic, she subtle spell casts a kind of silence over all of you as she starts to talk and says, you can all be hush-hush and not say anything, and that's your prerogative. Maybe I'm too nosy. But I can smell that you are not from here. And this is a pretty dangerous place. What are you doing here in Shadowfell? What would possess you to come down here? There's nothing here for the likes of you.
Listen, I'm just going to speak up before anyone else can. We're going to save someone. We're going to free him.
Free? In what sense?
We're going to Caldera City to break my father out.
Break your father out? From what? An unhealthy relationship?
Dude, seriously, Lexi.
Oh, is that a...
Seems a touchy subject, is all I'm saying.
man. I appreciate that. Don't care. Didn't ask.
Well, my father asked me to free him from prison in Caldera City because Belial imprisoned him, and we're going to free people. We're going to save them from anyone that's oppressing them, because that's all I've experienced and that's what I want to do. And he's going to help me do that, so I have to free him.
And you're sure that pissing off the Shadow Lord is in your best interests and your father's?
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I've pissed off a lot of people in my life, and he does not scare me.
You see Dravna claps and says, "Excellent. It appears, at least in part, our motives are aligned." And Dravna begins to explain to you her motive. Dravna was originally from the Delta outside Claw Harbour, and while shunned from the townsfolk there as a succubus, she revelled in the ghost grain that they nurtured, the only grain that's capable of growing in moonlight. The town was far enough away from Mount Admonition when it erupted to not be completely destroyed, but dusted in a thick layer of nutrient-dense volcanic ash. The bountiful harvest that followed kept the denizens of the Umbra Isles alive, and in that, Dravna appreciated the divinity of the grain in perseverance and merriment to the people. Yes, she was a succubus, but that didn't mean there couldn't be more subtlety and nuance in how she seduces and influences others. Dravna explains, "You see, death is not the end, only the beginning. For something new, something better. Take the ghost grain, for example. It grows in the fields, tall and strong, before being struck down, killed. And when ruin is reaped, we create something new, something better, something..." And she begins to pour an ale, and you see this frothy silver white foam, tantalizing. And she pours you all an ale.
Feng starts nervously sipping at the ale, worried that he's going to get charmed, but...
Louis already had half a pint.
Yeah.
She's just fucking slammed it.
Sandra's downing it.
Denny and Put are sort of interlinking arms.
It has a really thick, almost syrupy texture and black, but cold. And it kind of warms its way through your chest and settles in your stomach. You don't immediately feel drunk or under any magical influence, but you do feel a little bit calm and at ease. And perhaps it's half the alcohol and half Dravna's magic. You will never know. Dravna turns to you all and says, "If you're looking to cause trouble for the Shadow Lord, I would be more than happy to help you in that endeavour, save you understand that if you're caught or captured, I will deny your existence to the very end and watch you die a horrible, slow, painful death. Just business."
It really feels like you're trying to scare us, but we've had so many people threaten that upon us that honestly now we're used to it. Fine.
I'm not threatening you, I'm setting expectations of what I'm willing to do and not do. And what I won't do is put my neck on the line and what I've built for the likes of you mortals.
Yeah, but you could have sold it a little better.
I sell beer. She hands you all a gold token with the 2 sheaths of wheat interlocking each other. "I have a contact in Caldera City. If you show her this symbol and say that I have sent her, she is live to help you, and perhaps even give you shelter should anything untoward happen in the city. Caldera City is probably the most heavily watched place in Shadowfell. It is not going to be as easy as Fuma Town. You can't blend in there. You will need allies. My friend is an abyssal genasi called Anne-Marie, and she is the chief astrologer at the Oculus Observatory. She and I go a long while back, and our motives are aligned. I ask you keep most of your questions to a minimum, but she will gladly help you get in to the prison. You do know where the prison is, yes?
Feng will just scratch his head and go, "Oh yeah, totally, but could you just remind us so that we know that we're right in what we think?"
The look
I know, but I'm wondering if you do.
Yeah.
the look Dan just gave me the puppy dog eyes against the table.
Can I make a deception check?
Make me just a cute check. Use your charisma.
That's a 9.
You see Dravna chuckles and says, "There's only one prison in Shadowfell, and believe me, you've seen the lot around here. It's only the worst of the worst that gets locked up. So, the Shadow Lord likes to keep them close. He only has his personal dungeons in the covered keep central in Caldera City. And that, getting into the city, you realise is going to be hard enough, but getting into that castle, and then the dungeons. Well, you've got it this far, and what have I got to lose? A couple of coins? I can take that."
Denny says, "Do you have any way to show our way over to Caldera City?"
You see Dravna winces and says, I'm being watched here. The Gloom Legion largely overlooks some of my more nefarious aspects of business because I keep the common folk happy. I wouldn't really want to deal with them in my own city. Don't eat where you shit, essentially. All I would say is, bar beating every single fighter in the lists down in that pit, most of the Gloom Legion will be here tonight. It might be a prime opportunity, but you will still have to convince your way aboard the cable cart.
I've talked my way out of a lot of places. I think we can handle it.
I can't remember whether it was last week or 2 weeks ago, but we learned that Belial doesn't really care too much of what happens in Fuma Town as long as the resources make its way up on the cable car to Caldera City. Obviously, I'm understanding that it's volcanic kind of resources, but can Feng ask Dravna, I'm also just curious, what do they send up on that cable car?
Well, raw materials, supplies, food from the south, soldiers, contingencies. It's really the only way in and out of the city, but Caldera City prides itself on being the safest place in Shadowfell, so people don't generally leave there.
Then he hears that and asks,
If it is the safest place in Shadowfell, does that mean there is very high security?
You see Dravna smiles and say, Belial is security enough.
Oh.
Scary.
The final bout of the tourney lists is quickly approaching. Dravna has moved service up into the upper levels to clear the stands and prepare for the final battle. Several small winged imps with clipboards are flying around, casting protective and abjurative runes around the stands, presumably to protect innocent bystanders from any stray arrow, broken axe, or arcane bolt. It seems the frenzy of the workers aren't the only ones keen for the spectacle. As the night progresses, you all notice more and more shrouded soldiers of the Gloom Legion begin peppering the ranks of ghouls and beasts, talking quietly to each other, but never removing their helms. What are the Wellspringers doing as midnight quickly approaches?
I do have a very quick question. You said before that it was about 6 to 8 hours until midnight. I used a wild shake. Could we have taken a short rest so I can get that charge back?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
How are you prepared? I think this is when you guys be like, right, we're going to go as soon as it starts, we leave the Stinky Pit. How are you leaving the Stinky Pit? Who are we pass without tracing? Are we disguising?
Considering that the fights going on, the recruits are going to come no matter what. If we go up with recruits, we're probably going to have someone on our tail as soon as we get up and they come up with another group being like, hey, these are the recruits. They're going to be like, you already set them up. So maybe if we can ask Drevna if we can get a couple barrels of mead. Lysandra, you and I are kind of the highest charisma, plus you won't really need a disguise already. We can hide Feng and Denis in the barrels, and then if we get up that way, like convince them enough, we can get in there, get up, and just be gone without any kind of consequence or anything following us.
Are you sure you want to put Feng in a barrel of meat?
The old barrel maneuver.
I think we have matured enough as a party to trust Feng in a barrel of mead.
Okay.
How are you breathing in a barrel of mead, Feng?
Can I ritual cast water breathing?
Yes, you can.
Wait, is there a separate spell called ale breathing?
Yeah.
You have to take the subclass. Dravna definitely would have ale breathing,
Yes.
which just gives you like immunity to alcohol. I assume, like you could just keep drinking and not get drunk.
Sandra needs that.
She does.
No, she doesn't.
Do we think we need another distraction in the Stinky Pit, or do you think that the tournament will be enough?
I think considering that everyone is meant to be there, apart from the people that are running the cable car, I think it's distraction enough.
Sweet.
As the gloom of midnight reaches its peak and you begin packing the cart of mead outside of the Stinky Pit, you see Dravna takes to the air, swirling through conjured rings of blue flames and addressing the crowds to rapturous applause. Loyal customers to the Stinky Pit and servants to the benevolent Lord Belial, welcome to our Night of Nights, where only the most fearsome and hardy will be crowned victorious. Let us bear witness to their might and raise up the champion as a symbol of our own strength, endurance, and perseverance. Bring out the contenders! And as the Wellspringers began to trundle away from the Stinky Pit, you glance down to see Clancy Quivers, this skeleton of a moon elf standing there with knobbly knees with that bow drawn, as Ivy Smolders just goes into a rage and flies at him from across the pit. Before you move away from the Stinky Pit, what are you doing?
Yeah, Feng, this is the moment that Feng will cast water breathing so that Denis and himself can breathe in the barrels, and also cast Pass Without Trace so that the party is stealthy.
Louis is going to use her performance of creation here to create herself a uniform that is an exact replica of a Gloom Legion uniform, and is going to hopefully use that to get through without questioning.
And Lysandra is going to follow Louis' actions and use her Scroll of Disguise Self that she got to don a Gloom Legion uniform and helmet.
Okay, so with all those plans, Feng, you really have to push, squeeze into one of the mead barrels, it little sloshes out. But you fit both Denis and Feng into the mead barrels and secure them to the cart. After Feng casts Pass Without Trace, so I'm going to need those stealth checks, please. Add a +10 to your roll. The people in the cart, in the barrels, do not need to roll a stealth check.
Sweet.
I'm so good at it.
With that +10, Louis got a 19.
With the +10, Lysandra got a 25.
The crowd roars and the radiating heat of 1,000 voices rises up from the pit behind you as the Wellspringers disembark under the total cover of darkness. It is midnight, so there are no moons in the sky. At the far eastern part of town, the destruction of Mount Admonition is more apparent, with the landscape leveled and replaced with a swathe of toxic pools and minerals. With your disguises and with the cart, you see a couple of legionnaires walking to the Stinky Pit, give you curt nods but don't stop you. A few imps can also be seen playing in the latent volcanic activity that's bubbling up from the pools. You see the gas is sending geysers of these noxious fumes and methane to hang thickly in the air. The imps don't seem to care at all and are ladling out portions of the liquid into iron crucibles before loading them onto carts similar to your own. A main track bisects the terrain, well worn by beasts of burden carrying materials and supplies to the dormant volcano. And up ahead on the horizon you see the complex of the cable cart. 2 wooden towers bedecked the main entrance, peppered with Gloom Legion archers, and between them a cobblestone courtyard housing the mechanism winch for the cable cart itself. A huge turnstile, powered by enormous minotaur. It is constantly being unwound, revolving a set of enormous wrought steel cables. Louis, Lysandra, how do you approach?
I think as we approach, Louis is kind of trying to give off an air of sort of professional nonchalance. This is a thing that happens all the time. We're just turning up with another delivery. We're making our way up. Everyone knows how this works. We're just going to be here, be gone. It's all normal.
Can I get Lysandra and Louis? I want to say deception checks, but I don't think it's... You're playing a role rather than actively deceiving someone, so I would like performance checks for both of you, please, as you enter the space.
Louis is going to put a quick hand on Lysandra's shoulder and give her a bardic inspiration.
Thank you very much. Lysandra is going to use her bardic. That's a 1, so I can re-roll. It's an 8 on the dice, a +2 to performance, and a +5 from the bardic. That brings it to a 15 performance check for Lysandra.
Louis rolled a 12 on the dice, +7 for a 19.
Wonderful, very nice rolls. You do keep your cool, but I think you both start to sweat a little bit as you move forward. It's cold here, but you can't help feel your heart racing as you feel the gaze of all of the Gloom Legion archers upon you.
My heart is actually racing right now, by the way. I am nervous.
From above the archers, the enormous cable car begins to descend from the gloomy heavens. An enormous vessel, approximately 50 feet across, could carry at least 50 passengers. The enclosed cart is shielded by a thick crystal glass and metal bracing. It creaks dubiously as it descends. And finally, with an enormous effort from the Minotaurs, the hulking piece of metal slows to a stop, the door unlatching from the outside and opens to receive cargo. As you approach with your mead cart full of companions, a Gloom Legionnaire, an officer of this force, signified by a purple rose on his chest, steps forward as you approach. The Legionnaire is also accompanied on his left flank by a squatter figure, still in military uniform, but a long cloak of black feathers is tied around their throat, fastened with a bone-white clasp. and his right arm is fitted into what appears to be a falconer's glove. The Legionnaire looks at you and says, "Name, signifier."
Susan, cargo.
I want to say you see an eyebrow raise, but they're wearing helms.
Like one of the sides of the helm.
You see the Legionnaire pauses for a second and looks down on the clipboard and says, "The only thing on the itinerary for this evening is the recruits that are coming in, but I was told that they wouldn't be here until at least moonrise. Who authorized this transport?"
Louis kind of looks at this man up and down through the helm, giving her best kind of like grandma cocked eyebrow of, "Really?" And she just kind of looks at him and is like, "Are you really gonna question right now? We're just trying to get this done. It's the middle of the night. I want to go home. You want to go home. We all have things to do. Please just let me get this delivery on the freaking cable car and we can all just be done for the night. I've worked too many hours and I don't want to think about anything anymore. Please."
Lysandra, do you have proficiency in the persuasion skill?
No, I do not.
Give me a flat persuasion check, please, Louis. What I will say, Lysandra, is give me a perception check as you see the man to the left of the Legionnaire begins inspecting the car.
Of course.
That is a natural 20 plus 5 for a 25, DM.
Thank God.
That's probably the most important crit we've ever got in this campaign.
At least someone's critting. That's a natural 2 on the dice for a total of 5 for Lysandra's perception check.
I'm going to say, Lysandra, you are so overconsumed of, if I'm caught here now, right before everything, it's all for nothing. And that is what is consuming your mind at the moment.
Yeah.
Louis, with that nat 20, you see immediately the physicality of this Legionnaire starts to like quiver and quake a little bit. And you will notice with that nat 20, even though Lysandra's kind of like a stone in this moment, you see he starts rapping on the barrels and going down the line. He raps on Denis' barrel and moves to the next barrel and then to Feng's barrel, raps 4 times and stops for a second. And just as the Legionnaire moves to let you pass, you see this man leans into the barrel and goes,
Does Feng feel the wrapping on the barrel?
"Absolutely."
Feng would like to use his once-a-day disguise self to reduce himself by 3 feet, so he's only 4 foot tall, so he's not taking up too much size in the barrel, so that the sound that he's knocking on will still sound like the other ones.
This is going to be a contested deception versus perception. So give me a deception check, please, Feng.
That's an 11.
Okay. You see the Legionnaire turns to you, Louis, and says, "High Command, I will never know what they're doing, and they just don't even let us know. And then what are we supposed to do, huh? Let's wait here all night for shipments that apparently were never supposed to be here in the first place?"
You're telling me I've had to trek across half the fucking continent to pick this shit up on a last-minute order, and I was meant to be home for my mother's birthday tonight. So I think we're all in the shits here.
Wonderful. You see the Legionnaire turns to the man in the cloak of feathers and says, "I will send our envoy up to Caldera City and iron this out tomorrow." You see the Legionnaire says, "Look, I'm happy to put you on, but standard protocol is any unauthorized shipments do require an escort." And you see he waves his hand, and 3 of these enormous Legionnaires step up to escort you onto the cable car.
Fair enough. Procedure's procedure.
Well, that's the thing. Also, you're not on the schedule, so no one will be expecting you at the top. So these attaché of guards will get you to the barracks and get this offloaded.
I understand. Thank you. And thanks for your understanding with this whole shebang. It's always a nightmare. As I'm sure you know, I do not envy your job, my friend.
You say that like as you're walking off, like oh yeah, work's terrible. As you're like walking to the water cooler, and you lead the cart on. You see that these 3 Legionnaires accompany you, and after a while, the cart is loaded. You see they're heaving the barrels off the cart onto the cable car. Denis' barrel is whatever. Feng's, they're a little bit like...
Hey, I'm only 4 foot tall.
It says decreases size, not density.
I don't know.
That's so mean. Can you imagine you change your like image and but you just get fat? Like just because you were 7 foot, you just become.
It's not Jenny Craig. It's a spell. Okay, gang, this is how we're going to do this. It is 2,000 feet to the lip of the cinder cone of Caldera City.
That's a lot of feet.
With cargo, the travel time in good weather takes around 20 minutes. Once you leave the compound, the area is considered dim light, with only a few service lights in the cart illuminating the gloom. Your guard attaché of 3 gloom knights watches you carefully, apparently sizing both Louis and Lysandra up, who are significantly smaller. Not so much Lysandra, but definitely Louis. It's like...
All 5'1.5".
Yeah. Okay, so this is the contours here. The cable cart moves at 100 feet per minute, so once you're in combat, that's only 10 feet of movement per round. For purposes for your spells and ability checks, the cart is size huge. Once at elevation, the cable cart is 70 feet above the mountainside. You will also have to roll on a weather table.
And how many feet to the top?
2,000 feet.
Oh, whoa, okay.
Okay.
Crazy.
Okay, so if we go in at about halfway through, that'll give us 10 minutes to get rid of these 3 legionnaires.
Unless, because if they escort us to the top, they're going to follow Louis and Lysandra.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to have to get rid of them.
And then we can, if we've got one Gloom Legion person, the other person can pull off that they were the escort.
Oh, yeah, great idea.
Yeah.
And surely we could sort of knock them off their feet by surprising them. We've got 2 people in a barrel. We could try and surprise them with that.
The thing just bursts in.
So we'll wait until about 1,000 feet in, 10 minutes?
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
That sounds good.
All right, before we do that, I need someone to roll on the weather table, please. A d4.
That's a 1.
Oh, I don't like that face.
It's a good grimace though, right?
You all stand in the most uncomfortable silence of your life. Like every single gurgle from the barrels of mead makes you wince. Just so worried that Feng and Denis are just going to be found out. And then at the 500 feet mark, you see why the thick crystal glass and heavy steel reinforcement was so necessary, as these globules of acid rain begin to pepper on the outside of the cart. Thick, bright green drops run down the outside of the glass, and you can almost hear the ambient hissing.
Excuse the fuck you.
Terrifying, but very cool.
What are you doing? You are approaching the 500-foot mark. You see that you cannot see the top of the volcano yet, but the courtyard from below is also far from view. What do you do?
As we approach the 500-foot mark, Louis is going to just subtly point at her 3 companions and cast the message cantrip to say, I'll give you the word go. When you hear that, we're attacking and getting rid of these guys, so we're not going to be followed out of this shabongo.
Denis going to reply,
How many of them are there?
Cast message again. There's 3.
Cool.
But I should also say that I don't have to have line of sight to do message. The wording is you point your finger towards a creature within range and whisper a message. The target and only target hears the message and can reply in a whisper only I can hear. Just for information's sake.
Lysandra, now knowing the plan, is going to prepare her action to summon her echo behind one of these Gloom Legions as a surprise, or as an attempt to surprise them once she gets the message from Louis.
And Feng is going to prepare an action to burst out of the barrel and grapple one of these Gloom Legion soldiers as soon as he gets the signal from Louis.
This is interesting mechanically. Is Denis technically hidden?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Are you asking about sneak attack?
Yes.
You get sneak attack.
Denis going to prepare a crossbow bolt to sneak attack one of these legionnaires.
I will say, yes, you can sneak attack if you roll high enough to go first. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I roll so bad on initiative. I have good initiative. I just never roll well. But yes, absolutely fine.
We are reaching closer and closer to the 1,000-foot mark. Louis, beads of sweat start to appear under your helm and get the salty, tears in your eyes.
There's a lot of responsibility on Louis' shoulders as we're approaching this 1,000 feet, and the weight of it actually kind of, even though she's technically not in a physical body, makes her feel just old and aged as people are relying on her once again, and the moments of the forest kind of ring in her head of the people that she's let down before, of Scruff shot through with bullets, of Nonina's words, and she just, not really needing to breathe, but taking a deep calming breath anyway, breathes in, and as they hit the 1,000-foot mark, just quick snap, 1, 2, 3, go!
Well, it's actually more. Go, go, go!
Yeah, go, go, go!
I need everyone to roll initiative for me.
As we're doing this, I just want to remind everyone about their health potions,
Yes.
just so we know. Oh my god.
Then got a 21.
Louis got a 17.
Denis got an 8.
Lysandra got a 7.
You too.
Kiddos.
Because Louis does not have meta magic and can't cast 3 cantrips at once, she's going to have to cast this in succession. So only the first person in initiative will get the surprise round bursting out of the barrels. That is Feng.
Yep.
So Feng, for your action economy right now, you've prepared an action to go and grapple. That is your surprise round action. You then get a whole nother action as you will go first.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think Feng's just bursting out of the barrel, allowing the disguised self to leave his body, so he swells back up to 7 feet, and then, tries to just grab onto the closest legionnaire he can find.
I'm imagining Feng just like growing out of the
Give me advantage with your surprise round, Feng.
Beautiful. That's a 21.
Oh, that's a 14.
Nice.
You are able to grapple the central gloom paladin, and that is your surprise round.
Beautiful. And you're saying I have a whole nother action now?
Yup.
Okay. Can I ask, is the paladin that I've grappled wearing metal at all?
I did say they had silver trimmings and linings to their uniforms.
Beautiful. As Feng is bear hugging into this guy, can he start to cast heat metal?
Nice.
I will read that for you very quickly. Choose a manufactured metal object, such as metal weapon or a suit of heavy or medium metal armor that you can see within range.
Crap.
You cause the object to glow red hot. Any creature in physical contact with the object takes 2d8 fire damage when you cast the spell. Until the spell ends, you can use a bonus action on each of your subsequent turns to cause this damage again. If a creature is holding or wearing the object and takes damage from it, the creature must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or drop the object if it can. If it doesn't drop the object, it has disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks until the start of my next turn. So actually, I might try to retcon that a little bit. Could I cast it onto the sword or the weapon they're holding? If you'll let me do that. You can say no, I've already said armor.
Do you not have like resistance or immunity to fire damage?
No.
No? Oh, never mind.
You do.
I think like 3 people at the table
I
above
thought
me.
the element of you took a defeat for it.
That removes other people's immunity and resistance.
Oh.
So like technically when I hit Lysandra with Prony,
Sure.
she shouldn't have had resistance.
No, Feng, you've already established your bear hugging them.
That's fine. Beautiful. Well, nothing happens. They just automatically take the damage, which is nice. And because of, oh no, Promy's not summoned, I don't get the extra D8. And that is going to be 11 points of fire damage as I'm, kind of wrapping my arms and allowing some of the tendrils at the end of Feng's long, dirty hair to like almost latch onto the metal armor and ignite, trying to literally melt this person.
Your dandruff is just kindling.
Absolutely.
Dangerous.
And then as a bonus action, I'm going to use one of my hidden steps to turn invisible so that if any of them turn around and attack me, they'll have disadvantage.
Wonderful. Yes, you see these Gloom Legionnaires squeal as this enormous wet furball just is exploded from one of these barrels, and then like a bug on a windscreen smacks onto one of these Legionnaires and immediately ignites. You see the Legionnaire starts to scream at the other two and says, "Send for help! Send for help!" And one of the Gloom Legionnaires sheaths their sword and begins casting a spell. Next in the initiative order is Louis.
If I do a 10-foot sphere right now, how many people will I hit?
Maximum is 2 plus Feng, minimum is 1.
You can hit me, I don't care.
Alright, I am going to center this in a way that it gets the person that is casting the spell to attempt to disrupt their ability to cast it. And then, I'm sorry, but the guy with Feng on it as well, so I am going to catch Feng with this.
That's so fine.
I'm going to cast Shatter. in a 10-foot sphere on these 3 people.
Wonderful.
It is a Constitution saving throw DC 15.
Can you roll that as well, Feng?
Yep. Feng got a nat 1.
Oh, no.
That's okay, I got something, don't worry.
1 got a 15. 1 failed. Roll me a luck check, Louis. 1 and a 2. The person who failed is the person on fire. 3 and a 4. The person who failed is the person casting the spell.
It's a 4.
4. You cast the spell. You see that the Gloom Legionnaire will take damage for that.
Beautiful.
I will now roll for the cart.
That is 15 points of damage. Thunder damage specifically.
Sweet. Feng is going to use a reaction to cast Absorb Elements to get resistance to that, which brings it down to 7. And then I will make my concentration check on Heat Metal, which means, please. Sweet, that's a 15 on the dice. And my next melee attack is improved with some thunder damage.
Amazing. Louis, seeing that Lysandra is still a bit frozen up and stuck, is going to just kind of like literally give her a very hearty tap on the shoulder and be like, okay, kiddo, let's go, wake up, and gonna give her a bardic inspiration as a bonus action.
Yes, ma'am.
Next in the initiative orders are the 3 Gloom Paladins. The first one, who is on fire by Feng. He's still grappled by you, Feng, or no?
Sure is.
Great. Can he still make attacks?
If it doesn't drop the object, it has disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks until the start of my next turn.
Right. You see the Legionnaire then, who has this invisible mass on his chest and is also on fire. He's like, get it off, get it off, get it off! And is going to make a contested athletics check with disadvantage.
Beautiful. Feng got another 21.
They rolled a 15, not high enough. That is his turn.
Nice.
The next Gloom Paladin was the one that was just about to cast a cute little sending spell before Louis interrupted him. And so he is going to turn around Louis and return the favour.
Okay.
He's going to take a multi-attack. That is a nat 20 and an 18.
Both hit?
You see this paladin draws this flaming black sword of pure shadow and jams it straight into Louis. You take 15 points of slashing damage and 10 points of necrotic damage from the swing. He is then going to burn one of his spell slots to cast Searing Smite on you.
Sorry, dear, very quickly, we substantiated a very long time ago that Louis is immune to necrotic damage.
We did too.
We did.
You do not take the necrotic damage. Yes, you see, although Louis, the necrotic damage takes no purchase on you, you see the paladin kind of recoils at the fact that you don't wince from this necrotic energy, and is so going to pump a first level spell slot to cast Wrathful Smite on you.
Okay.
I also need a wisdom saving throw from you, Louis.
No worries. That is an 11.
The DC is 13. That is a fail. You take 9 points of psychic damage, and you are now frightened. As an action, you can make a wisdom check against the paladin's spell save DC to resolve that condition. That is the third Gloom Paladin. It is going to... You're invisible, Feng, aren't you?
Sure am.
He's going to listen to his friend and try and get whatever thing is off his friend who is now on fire. And so he's going to swing his sword at you with disadvantage because you are invisible.
Go for it.
This one is going to hit you, Feng, even with disadvantage. You take 3 slashing damage plus 6 necrotic damage.
Okay, I'll make a concentration check for heat metal. That's a nat 1. Heat metal drops.
You see as this paladin flails with his sword wildly, the smell of like cooking flesh dissipates, and the Gloom Paladin is no longer on fire. Okay, that's good for them. Denny, your turn.
Denny's going to appear out of the barrel with Pud in tow. I imagine that Pud, being mostly pastry, has soaked up a lot of this mead and is now just like heavy as hell, little clumps falling off of him, resembling his former non-hot self.
He's a boozy baklava.
Yeah, he's a boozy. I love that. Denny is going to jump out of the barrel, put it in tow, is going to jump behind the cart and hide as a bonus action, and is then going to fire off a sneak attack at this closest Legionnaire.
Do you need a stealth check?
I do need a stealth check, actually. That's an 8.
That is not going to do it. You do not have sneak attack.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Denny will just fire off a normal attack at this closest Legionnaire. That's a 10.
Misses.
Slay.
Lysandra.
Lysandra is going to use her bonus action to summon in her echo, and then with her action is going to cast Arms of Hadar to cover as many of the legions as she can within 10 feet of her.
You can get 2 of the ones that Louis targeted with her shadow spell.
Fantastic.
Can you hit Feng too?
Yes.
I need those creatures to make a strength saving throw, DC 13.
Okay. Feng fails.
Feng fails, so do the 2 Gloom Paladins.
So because Lysandra hasn't used this spell before, I am going to read out mostly what it does. So on a failed save, they take 2d6 necrotic damage, and they can't take reactions until their next turn.
Luckily, I've already used mine.
That is 12 points of necrotic damage.
They take half, they are resistant.
Good to know.
You see these tentacles slam into these paladins, push them back. You hear the disembodied from Feng, and you see the cable cart being weakened by both the shadow spell and the Arms of Hadar. You hear this, and a giant hairline crack appears in the crystal glass.
And that is the end of Lysandra's turn.
At the end of the round, I am going to roll to see how many rounds something is going to take.
Oh, God.
Back to the top of the order, that is Feng.
Beautiful. As an action, I am going to summon Promi and get 2 of these Legionnaires to make a dexterity saving throw for me, DC 15.
1 passes, 1 fails.
The one that failed takes 9 fire damage.
I'm going to say it's the one you already caught on fire. Just having the worst day.
And then as a bonus action, I am going to use a healing word on myself at first level, but only because with Enhanced Bond, I get to up that by a D8.
With your enhanced bond with Promi.
Correct. That's 14 points of healing.
Yay!
A first level bonus action spell.
Louis, you're up.
Okay. Louis is going to look to the Gloom Paladin that has been repeatedly fire charged, and I would like him to make a wisdom saving throw as I'm going to cast Antagonize.
Plus 0 to wisdom, it rolls an 11.
The DC was 15, he fails. He's going to take 4d4 psychic damage and must immediately use its reaction to make a melee attack against another creature of my choice that I can see. That is 10 points of psychic damage, and I would like it to turn to the one that was originally going to send the message and make its attacks.
Rolled a 2 on the dice, misses.
Damn.
Louis is just going to kind of yell over her shoulder as a bonus action to Denny, who is hiding, and is just going to be like, heads up, let's go, and give him a bardic inspiration.
Thank you.
Denny, you're the furthest away, so the 3 paladins here are going to take their multi-attacks on the 3 Wellspringers that they can see, Feng, Lysandra, and Louis. That's a nat 20 on Lysandra. That is a miss for Feng, 14.
That misses.
And that's a hit on Louis.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do the crit first. You take 8 points of slashing damage and 12 points of necrotic damage. And I also need you to make me a wisdom saving throw, please, as they will also pump in a Wrathful Smite on top of that.
That's an 18.
That passes, you are not frightened, but you still take 7 points of psychic damage.
Taking that damage, Lysandra would love to use her reaction to Hellish Rebuke him. I need him to make a dexterity saving throw, DC 13.
Rolls 13 on the dice.
Damn.
He still takes half as much damage. 15 half down to 7 points of fire damage.
You see 2 of these Legionnaires have definitely been damaged, and the other one has not been touched yet. The damage on Louis, I rolled max on the dice, so that's 6 points of slashing, 8 points of necrotic damage.
I do not take the necrotic, so I'll take the 6 points of slashing.
Sweet. He is also going to Wrathful Smite on top of that. That's 5 points of psychic damage. I need another wisdom saving throw.
Fucking natural one.
You are still frightened, Louis.
Cowering in my old bones.
Denny, you are like visibly standing behind a barrel a bit away.
Visibly standing behind a barrel is a very great way to describe me. Okay, Denis is going to run up to Louis and cast a 2nd level Cure Wounds.
One of the paladins is going to get an opportunity attack on you. That's a nat 20.
Fuck off.
God.
No, never mind, actually, it's nat 20, isn't it?
There's 11 points of slashing damage, Denny, and 11 points of necrotic damage.
Okay, taking that damage, Denis is going to run up to Louis and cast a 2nd level Cure Wounds for flavor. That is hands! I need fucking hands! And because it's a touch spell, lay his hands on Louis and is going to heal her for 16 hit
Oh,
points.
you are amazing.
Nice.
Thank you.
Very good.
Sweet. And would that have been all of Denis' movement?
I think you're up in the mix. I don't think you have the movement to now then run away and hide.
Oh, no, I don't want to hide. I
for it.
want to run over to Feng.
Go for it, yeah.
Sweet. Denis is going to run over to Feng then and use his Fey gift of hospitality so that we each regain 1d6 plus 3 temp hit points, and I would love to give Feng advantage on his next attack roll.
Go for it.
Beautiful.
That's 9 temporary hit points for both of us.
Thank you very much.
That is the end of Denis' turn.
I'm looking pretty good now.
Lysandra.
Lysandra is pissed. She's going to use her bonus action to Hexblade Curse the legion closest to her. She now gets a +3 bonus to her damage rolls, crit on a 19 or 20, and she's going to use both of her attacks against him. One of those was a natural 20, the other one is a 23.
Hit.
Fantastic.
Finally, we get one of our own.
All up with all the bonuses, that is 36 points of slashing damage to this legion.
Oh,
Nice.
And that's all slashing damage?
All slashing damage,
Damn.
but it is magical because it's a magic weapon.
Lysandra, you sink your sword into this legionnaire and he kind of buckles and turns to the side. And just as you do, you see a flash of green lightning outside as the storm intensifies. I'm going to need a perception check from you, please.
Sure thing. That's a 19.
With a 19, in this moment of victory and you finally get the upper hand, you look past the legionnaire you half impaled to the cracked crystal behind him, and in the gloom of the storm, outlined in silhouette by the flashes of lightning, you see 2 enormous rocks, these ginormous birds, one of which is carrying someone, a gloom legionnaire with a cape of black feathers. And that is where we will end our session.
Oh.
Who's that?
Cliffhanger gang.
What the fuck?
Such a DM move. As soon as your party crit, end the session.
You rolled 3 crits.
Yeah, I'm allowed to crit. As always, gang, a selfless plug for this week. Who's got one?
I have one. So I've started or have been working at a regional pub in Victoria. And one of the things that I've gotten to do down there is get to know a lot of the local businesses. And one that I have personally brought from is Logan's Micro Distillery. It's the only gin distillery that side of Victoria. They make all their products from start to finish from all local ingredients, which is really cool because I can't drink a lot of like vodkas and things like that. And so one of the things they do is limoncello, which traditionally is made with vodka. They don't do it with that, so I can enjoy it. And everyone else who is intolerant to vodka can also enjoy it. So I just wanted to shout out local businesses that don't really get a lot of placement in big cities.
Don't forget to follow us on our socials at Down on the Dungeon Pod or from our link tree. Join our Discord for even more discussion and conversation, and make sure to tag us in any of your fan art. As always, you can reach us at downunderdungeonpod@gmail.com. And if you're feeling generous, give us a 5-star rating on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And we will see you for the climactic ending of this battle next week.
Bye.